What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So yes, we have some news from Bushiroad and Weiss Schwarz, and they have announced a reprint of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Not only that, they have announced that they're reprinting the trial deck and the booster box. As you can see down here, due to popular demand, we're excited to announce that pre-orders for the reprint of the trial deck plus and booster pack, JoJo's Bizarre Adventures Golden Wind, have begun. This, like, for me, when I saw this, I couldn't really believe what I was seeing. This is a set from 2020. There was a brief period of time where Weiss Schwarz were doing lots of reprints. That was about a year ago or maybe 2 years ago now. We had reprints when, so Attack on Titan Final Season came out and they reprinted Volume 1 and 2. Signatures were not changed, so anyone who spent a lot on those signed cards before that reprint obviously got hit quite a bit by losing some value in their collection. But I think they announced, like, maybe on a conference, that the idea of the reprints was, you know, they've had a lot of growth in the TCG from sort of 2020 and 2021, and anyone new coming in, it gives them the chance to collect these old sets that they weren't around for, and they can experience those old sets. Although my argument to that is, well, a lot of that growth was from collectors, right? So a lot of that growth came from collectors in the first place. Collectors like things that are quite exclusive. They like the fact that this is a set from, well, for example, JoJo, this is a set from 4 years ago. It's print to pre-order. Yes, if you wanted to buy a booster box prior to this news, or buy the SPs or collect the set, it will be quite a hard achievement to hunt all of those SPs down. And obviously you'll be paying a premium for those SPs because it's 4 years old and out of print, right? And as a collector, most collectors kind of, that almost attracts people to it even more, right? Because there's that exclusivity side of it. It's like, it's the same reason why I like buying trophy cards or other people collect prize cards as well. Like, it just makes it harder to get. It makes it feel that much more special when you do get it and you do finish the collection. And after those Attack on Titan sets, they also did some other reprints. We had Overlord Volume 1 reprinted. We have Slime Volume 1 reprinted. But in those sets, they changed the signatures from gold to silver. So there was some indication that this is a second print and hopefully won't affect the gold signatures too much in price. But with that said, it's still the same card and it still allows you to get it a bit cheaper. So potentially sometimes doing things like that might not, could still impact that first edition gold signed card, just because if people don't have the money, they can settle for that cheaper option rather than perhaps saving up for that more expensive gold signed version. And something to notice here is obviously they actually haven't specified if they are going to be silver signatures, right? So they're announcing a reprint, telling you to contact your nearest local game shop. And they haven't said that these signatures are silver or if it's a like-for-like reprint. Now, reading this, I would go off the assumption that this is a like-for-like reprint and they're going to be gold. Because personally, as a company, as a business, if you're announcing this information, that you're reprinting this set and to contact your local game stores for these trial decks, for these booster boxes, that is the time where you need to tell people, by the way, it's not a like-for-like reprint, we're doing silver signatures. So at the moment, with just this information, I would assume this is going to be like-for-like with gold signatures, because I feel like the information should be there otherwise, but we will see. Now, a lot of the reprints that they did happened back then, right? So I feel like we haven't had an English reprint of an older set like that for some time. I know we had Bunny Girl when the new set came out, but when that was reprinted, we didn't have signatures because they lost the licensing, so the cards had different stamps on them, and so that was a bit different. But it feels like honestly, it feels like a really weird time for them to do a reprint. To me, most TCGs right now and within the last 6 months or so have been in this kind of like stale market where it's all just been very slow. Prices seem quite low, demand seems quite low, with the exception of One Piece, which seems to be just going crazy. But generally, like the whole market, and I guess it ties into the economy as well and everything, but it all just seems to be on a bit of a slow burner at the moment. And these reprints happened when Weiss was kind of like booming, right? There's a lot of popularity, a lot of collectors came and got involved in it, which kind of justified those reprints a bit more. But personally, I don't think the reprints ended up being that great. I mean, Attack on Titan especially wasn't great. Those cases and boxes are still under distribution prices for all of the Attack on Titan sets. But even like the Slime reprint, I think I picked up one box of that to open of the Volume 1 reprint. I'd already collected the some of the gold signed cards from Volume 1 and things like that. It just felt like the reprints weren't like a huge success. That's my perspective of it anyway. And then they quickly, stopped doing the reprints. And then suddenly out of nowhere, we've got another reprint. But not only that, we've got Trial Deck reprint as well. And I think if they're justifying this in the way that this gives people a chance to experience JoJo who came in after JoJo was released, like the same way as they justified some of those other reprints, it just seems a little bit out of touch. And there seems to be a lot happening in Weiss Schwarz with announcements and things that are making me very worried about the TCG from a collector point of view specifically. I don't play the game, so I can't really comment on that side of things. I assume a set from 4 years ago is probably not that playable and not that meta, but correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But the whole popular demand, like, I'm not sure where this popular demand is. I think if we think about like the business decision behind this, they see JoJo as a popular IP. So maybe they're just kind of looking at some of the secondhand market prices and going, this might be a good set to put back out there. And yeah, people joined in 2021. There was a big growth. So their justification being the same as it was for the last reprints, that if people missed this set, they can now enjoy it. Well, I don't really think that's how it's going to work. I think the people that came in 2021 or 2020 or within those last years post this set coming out, the people that came in and are huge fans of JoJo and really like the IP and would be really interested in collecting this set, they would have just paid the premium. They would have just paid the $200 for the booster box that might be dead, but they just want to open it. Like, they would have paid the expensive price for the SPs. I mean, don't get me wrong, like the SPs, they're not like, we're not talking like $5,000 SPs, right? They're above what they would be if the set was released now, but it's not like, we're not talking like 10 times the amount of price that they would be at the moment. Like it just seems a little bit out of touch to think that people that are fans of this IP and collectors who came in would have not bought it, and actually now that it's coming out, now they're going to buy it because it's retail price. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. There's going to be a few people out there that will be happy with this, that would have skipped collecting it because it might have been a little bit expensive. But I think the majority of people who are into JoJo and are really big fans of JoJo would have just paid the premium. And as I said, like the fact that it's a little bit more expensive, it's a little bit more exclusive because it's out of print and it's the set came out perhaps 2 years ago from when you entered in to the TCG. That adds desirability to it from a collector point of view. It just makes it almost, the chase is more exciting. Getting those cards they just feel more exclusive. So not only that, obviously, this news has literally just come out of nowhere, having not done reprints for quite some time. But there's also been a few other things recently. We've had like Dengeki Bunko come out in Japanese. They must know that some of that Japanese product, or quite a bit of that Japanese product, ends up in the West, and it doesn't stay in Japan. And some of those a fair amount of those sales come from the West. But they released that product in Japanese, and not long after release announced that it comes out in English, which is a big sting to anyone collecting it or even stores stocking it as well. that happened, a couple of months back now. Now we've got this announcement with a set that was just very collectible. I remember a lot of people trying to collect all the SPs from this, and at the end of the day, I know some people might say, well, you're collecting things, you shouldn't be about value. If you wanted it that much, you would collect it regardless of value. But I feel like you can't ignore value. Like, at the end of the day, if you're spending thousands of pounds, thousands of dollars on collecting something, you at least want it to hold its value. It'd be nice if it stayed the same value. You don't want to spend that money and just lose most of it when there's other sets, other trading card games where the value stays there or increases, and you can keep those items and know that financially that value is still within those items. And actually, I was planning already on doing a video about how I feel like there's been a drop off in collectors, in high-end collectors in Weiss Schwarz. The type of high-end collectors that I saw about a year ago or 2 years ago within the TCG, there's quite a few of them that I don't see, they're not involved in it anymore. So for me, I know TCGs have been on a bit of a slow burner at the moment, but it feels like there's been quite a fair amount of collectors and high-end collectors that have dropped off of Weiss Schwarz. And I think maybe One Piece has a little bit to do with that. These same people that I saw with some very high-end Weiss Schwarz items, I see posting a lot of One Piece and things like that. That's not to say they're still not involved and buying it, they just might not be posting about it as much, so it's hard to know. And I guess with like algorithms and things like that, so on Instagram or YouTube, like whatever you're watching or interacting with more, you're going to get shown more. And I have been collecting a little bit of One Piece myself, so maybe there's a bias there of what I'm being shown, but it does feel like that to me. But obviously let me know in the comments if you feel the same, if that's something you've noticed, or if anything you might feel like there's more collectors. But overall, seeing this does really worry me about the future of Weiss Schwarz. Things like this and the Dengeki Bunko Japanese, announcement coming to English post-Japanese release. There's just been a lot of things happening. You've got the mix of One Piece doing insanely well, both growing in player base, collector base, is absolutely just booming at the moment, which doesn't mean it's going to stay that way and potentially isn't sustainable. Anything can happen, but it is an anime TCG, and I think that holds a lot of importance here. And we must not forget, Union Arena is coming to English at the end of this year. And personally, I think Weiss Schwarz, this is extremely worrying. I'm worried for the future of Weiss Schwarz when they keep doing things like this that, to me, feels just detrimental to collectors. At the end of the day, that huge boom, the majority of that was collectors. Don't get me wrong, there's going to be more players coming to this TCG all the time. That's just generally how TCGs go. The growth happens over time. And I think that the player base for Weiss Schwarz is amazing. I feel like it's a very tight-knit but really nice community of players who have been playing it for a very long time. Whereas I feel like some other TCGs, players dip in and out quite a lot, but I feel like Weiss Schwarz has like a really solid player base. But that big boom of interest, most of that came from collectors. You could tell that because the SP prices went up, play sets went down. So to make these decisions that feel like you're going to potentially lose a lot of collectors, to me it feels like there's already a drop off in collectors, and things like this just feel like you're just going to add more fuel to the fire. You're probably going to lose more collectors, and you're going to be losing them around a time where One Piece is doing absolutely amazing and Union Arena in English is going to be coming out. And they've got some very big popular IPs that, in my opinion, are much more suited to casual anime fans in the West. And I think this is problematic. I think there's so much going on here. You could very easily lose. I think even without making these reprint announcements and the Dengeki Bunko English announcement just after the Japanese release, I think even without them, I think Union Arena and One Piece are kind of a big competitor in terms of collecting. I'm not talking about playing. To Weiss Schwarz, like at the end of the day, Union Arena is the same sort of concept. Each set is a different IP. They've got signatures as well. They have signatures. They've had serials. I think SAO just came out with signatures and serials, which in Japanese, which seems to be doing insanely well. With that said, some of the other sets do really, really poor, so it's really hit and miss. But I think when it comes out in English, I think it's a TCG that's very suited to a Western English audience. And I think, yeah, I guys, I'm genuinely concerned about Weiss Schwarz within the next 1 to 2 years once they come out. I mean, it does depend on how Union Arena does. You know, maybe Union Arena doesn't do that well, but I still think, you know, as a competitor to this TCG, and it feels like they just keep making these, I guess not mistake. Well, it is a mistake. Like, I think their intentions, you know, that they think they're doing something great here, but I just personally, as a collector, you know, I didn't even collect the JoJo set, the JoJo SPs, and I can look at this and think, oh, like, this is a, you know, this is a big mistake. This is going to frustrate a lot of people, and you're going to potentially lose even more collectors that you may have already lost, along with the fact you've got these other competitors coming out with similar TCGs at the end of the year. Who knows though, maybe I'm overreacting. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? Like, are you excited for this set to come out, or do you think that, you know, maybe you bought the SPs and this is very frustrating for you? Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video.